What's going on, YouTube? It's James with Chihammer Fantasy Battle Reports, and today this is not a battle report. This is actually my review on 9th Age, which I should call WOG Age. Holy shit. Did you guys see this Orcs and Goblins book? I'm just doing a review on the Orcs and Goblins book, might I add. I'm not doing the whole review on goddamn 9th Age. That'd just be a freaking ridiculously long video. Anyways, but did you guys see this? Okay, now let's get the obvious out of the way. They changed a lot of names because guess what? Copyright laws, okay? They can't get freaking sued. They don't want to get sued. They're gonna go ahead and change the name. So we're not gonna play stupid. We know what they mean. A freaking common orc is a damn orc. A fucking iron orc is a black orc. A Neander orc is a savage orc. Cave goblin is a night goblin, and a forest goblin is, guess what? A forest goblin. Okay? So, and then there's a bunch of other names changed. But let's just go over the rules. Let's go over what they have, what they got upgraded, and this is just, I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really freaking excited. Alright, so first off, let's go over the rules. Unruly, okay? Unruly, to me, is their way of taking away animosity and putting it into something else. The great news is, you're never going to be fighting freaking goblins against your savages ever again, okay? So that's awesome, alright? Now, Unruly says you get -1 leadership rolls on the following tests: Restrained Frenzy and Restrained Pursuit. Okay? That means that you have a higher chance of, once you're about to get into a fight or once you're chasing somebody from a fight, that you're actually going to fucking keep going to fight because you're Orcs and Goblins. And if you don't expect this as an Orcs and Goblins player, you don't deserve to be an Orcs and Goblins player. Okay? So, in addition, in Horde formation, you roll 3 dice for a panic test and discard the highest. Now, this is what I don't understand, and you guys might correct me here. It says in a Horde formation, you roll 3 dice on a panic test and discard the highest. Oh, that's for a panic test. Never mind. So basically, if they got cause to panic, since they're unruly, they basically get cold-blooded, which is just like, they don't care. They want to continue fighting. They're not as scared as freaking somebody else. That's awesome. Alright, in Horde formation. That's awesome. Born to fight. Models with this part, or parts of them with this special rule, have +1 to strength. So this is the Choppa's rule, okay? But they don't lose the +1 strength until they lose or draw in combat. That's fucking ridiculous. There's been so many times where I get that first round of combat and then somebody like challenges me or does something stupid and it fucking messes up my combat, or I got a stupid debuff on me for one turn but the next turn that debuff is off and I'm like, oh well, now I'm only strength 4. So strength 5 on most orc biggins, or brutal orcs, quote unquote, they're gonna get that freaking strength 5 the whole time. That is fucking nuts. Now this next rule, Mark of the Boss. This one is extremely interesting to me, okay? Because it says up to 1 unit with this special rule in the army that has the same green hide race as the general may take a magic banner worth 25 points more than they would otherwise. So, if you guys looked at all the army already, alright, you could, I mean, we'll go over this when we go over it, but this is basically like giving yourself an extra BSB, pretty much, as long as he's the same race as your general. Now, one thing I did note is there's no quell animosity, so you really don't need a black orc boss to be in a unit to stop anybody, so you don't have to have a black orc general, which leaves you a huge variety of options. And I'll go over that when we get there, but basically you're honestly allowed to take some really cool banners in some really different units that you would have never been able to do otherwise. That is awesome. The Warg! They had to add an R, okay? But it's still the WOG to me, okay? This is the WOG! Alright, once per game, and during this video you're going to hear this damn siren go off because somebody's going to the damn hospital. I hope they're okay, but still, they're ruining my video. I'm going to wait till this goes by. Anyways, the WOG. Once per game, a model with this special rule in the army generals, whatever. Okay. A model with this special rule that is the army's general may declare the WOG, and they didn't even put the R on that one. They just put it in the main title, but not in that one. At the start of this turn, all models in the army belonging to the green hide race gain the devastating charge and swift stride special rules until the end of the turn. Holy shit. I'll take that over D3 on the combat res any day. Holy shit, you're giving me a swift stride, and you're giving me a devastating charge, which is +1 attack. Now, if you have a horde of 10 wide savages, alright, they're already getting like 3 to 4 attacks apiece or whatever, right? You're gonna give them an extra attack. That's just nuts. Holy shit. That's insane. That is probably one of the coolest fucking buffs I've ever seen on Orcs and Goblins. Beware the Sting. Alright, now this is basically, I believe, just for the Arachne, but they gave it a special rule here. It might be for somebody else. But it says nominate one of the attacks with the special rule before rolling to hit. This attack has multiple wounds ordinance special rule. Now, if you know as the Arachne, this is one thing I was kind of curious about, because it says multiple wounds ordinance, whatever. Is that still a D6? Because it didn't really specify the number. But it's yeah, it's saying nominate one. So if you're familiar with the Ragnarok, you got 7 regular attacks. You had 1 that was the Venom Jaw, the Poisonous Maw, whatever it was. And if it hit and wounded, it's going to multiply D6 wounds, which is just great. I love that. It's the same. That hasn't changed. The Green Tide. Woo-wee! Did we just turn into elves or what? Models and all goblins with the same green hide race in its unit gain fight and extra rank special rule. Alright, so anybody who has the green tide special rule, basically, I think it's just the goblins. Oh, that sucks. I thought it was orcs too. Well, it doesn't really matter. Models and all goblins with the same green hide race in its unit gain. Yep, it's just for goblins, it looks like. If I'm reading that wrong, somebody could actually explain it to me. But basically, all the goblins, since they're freaking pretty puny anyways, are getting to attack in extra ranks. Which means if you have a horde of 50 goblins with spears, all 50 goblins are attacking, because you're getting the extra rank anyways for normal, having the secondary attacks. You're getting an extra rank for spears, so that's already 30. Then you're getting another extra rank for being in a horde, that's 40, and then you're getting an extra 10 for being the green tide. 50 fucking goblins with spears. Shambolic. Now, Shambolic is basically explaining the same damn thing that a Fanatic or a Mangler does. When they touch somebody or something, they're gonna blow up. Okay, so let's go over this. Units with special rule follow the random movement special rule. Yeah. Shambolic units are immune to psychology and cannot be joined by characters, of course. If such units rolls its random movement and the dice show the same result, it takes D3 wounds, no saves allowed, and then moves its random direction. That's interesting and different. They actually said if you roll doubles, you don't die automatically, you just take the D3 wounds with no saves, and then you're going to continue on. So that means that the Mangler won't blow up if it rolls triples after it runs amok, basically. There's 2 options for Shambolic. There's running amok, which is basically you have no control of it. Units with Shambolic running amok always move in a random direction during its movement phase, and then steady is at the start of when you actually have control of the Mangler and when you actually have control of throwing out the Fanatics. Units with Shambolic steady roll may re-roll their random movement distance roll, but must accept the second one. That is awesome. That is awesome. I don't know if that's for Fanatics. We'll get there when we get there. Bouncy. Bounty units may move through friendly units during their move. That is fucking awesome. If a bounty unit will end its move inside of a friendly unit without being in contact with the enemy unit, backtrack along its path until its legal position at least 1 inch away from the unit. Bounty units do not count as contacting terrain for purposes of dangerous terrain unless they begin or end their move on it, but bounty units are still blocked by impassable terrain. So they could bounce through a forest, but they can't basically bounce. They can't stay in a forest, it looks like. Oh, they don't count it as a contacting terrain, so basically they don't have to take dangerous terrain tests. Huh. So they could go through a forest. Alright. Deadly Menace. Deadly Menace models ignore the 1-inch spacing rule during their random movement. If a Deadly Menace model touches another friend or foe, it continues moving in the same direction until 1 inch clear of the other. So basically this is when a Fanatic hits a unit, pops out the other side, and somebody's really close and they pop into that unit too, and then they're going to pop out the other side of that. So basically it keeps on going until it's either going to hit um, terrain or not hit anything at all. If it hits terrain, it's going to hit the wall and frickin' die. Any units passed through by the deadly Menace model during its random movement suffers X hits, where X is given in the brackets. This is increased by an additional D6 hits if the deadly Menace model was removed as a casualty because it couldn't be placed anywhere else. So if the Fanatic runs through, hits the wall, but your guys are pretty much close to the wall, and there was no inch to move, he's gonna do another D6 on top of that on hits. Other units cannot charge deadly Menace models, but they may charge, flee, pursue, or move through them. Units that do so take the hits plus an additional D6, basically. All hits inflicted by a deadly Menace model are on modified strength and armor piercing. So basically, that's kind of the same. Accident prone. When accident prone models may contact terrain features except open hills or contact the board edge or stop 1 inch away from impassable terrain, they must take a dangerous terrain. So that's awesome. So basically what it's saying is if your Fanatic hits a tree on a roll, well, I think this is more for the Mangler. I don't think this is for the Fanatics itself. But basically you take a dangerous terrain and you fail on a 1 or 2 and you take a wound for that. If you touch another model with accident prone, you're going to get killed. Alright, we're going to move on to the armory now. Now the armory, there's a lot of cool shit in the magic items and weapons, but the armory more or less is Orc and Goblins specific things that we could get. So like the first thing is the power mushrooms. Now this is the magic mushroom for Goblin Shaymins. Now originally in 8th edition you had to take a magic mushroom every time you rolled, and on a 1 you would choke. This time it's an option. If you need that extra dice, here it is. You generate D3 plus 1 power mushroom at the end of your deployment. This is an upgrade you have to purchase. I think it's like 20 points. Single power mushroom can be used once per spell to add D3 to the casting result. So it's not an actual extra power dice. It's just a D3 to the result. If it rolls a natural 1, your wizard takes a strength 3, armor piercing 6 hit. Now, just because of the negative effect and the fact you could actually, well, it doesn't say that it'll force you to fail, which is a good thing, but you would take a choke on the mushroom. That's actually not that bad. For 20 points, you're getting an additional 1, 2, or 3 on the dice. But in all fairness, you could just 35 points. You could just get an extra level. Period. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. The huge Impaler is the big Stabba, or in my case, the big Stabadon. The big Stabadon, it is a unit with at least 1 full rank on charge, gets impact hits, D3, strength 5, multiple wounds on large targets. This is actually exactly the same as it was. The question is, does the Choppas rule goes into effect on this as it did in 8th edition? Because in 8th edition it was strength 5, but you still get the +1 for Choppas. I understand you lose Choppas in this as long as you lose combat, you'll be stuck on your lower strength level. But yeah, I'm really interested if that does the strength 6 still. I'm assuming it does, but we'll find out. Magic items. Here's where the magic happens, guys. Magic items. You got Wrath Axe of the Final Horde, 75 points. Now it sounds great on paper. It says hand weapon. That's actually pretty cool. It's a hand weapon, so you can still carry a shield. Wielder has a D6 and a plus D6 strength and a plus D6 attacks. That's insane. You could have like 10 attacks, strength 10. Holy shit. The wearer also suffers, though, hits equal to half the attack bonus, round up. So if you only got three attacks, you're getting a hit twice back, strength 4. That's not that bad if your toughness is 5. So it's not horrible. These hits don't benefit from any special rules as flaming holy bonuses, etc. Bonuses rolled for and in effect at the initiative step where the character attacks with the weapon. So basically, you don't know how many attacks you're going to do until you actually do it. It's not a horrible thing. Strength 4, you could probably armor save yourself for it, because it doesn't say it's like armor piercing or anything like that. So all in all, as long as you have a very decently kitted out character, the hit back really isn't that bad. 75 points, ugh, I don't know about that, man. 75 points for the magic weapon, it's pretty tough because usually I would put it. I mean, you have to have it on Lord because it's over 50 points. But what are you using that other 25 points on? That means you're losing your wards, you're losing whatever, and it's very tricky. In big point games, sure, take a character with it. You know what? Put the character on a dragon, on a wyvern, and have him running around with it. But otherwise than that, I don't know. Backstabbing Dirks. Now, these Backstabbing Dirks are for goblins only. I actually raised a question up on the 9th Age page for this because I'm curious. It says it's an additional hand weapon, which means it's paired weapons. But in all fairness, all my flankers that are goblins are on mounts. So does that mean that they just can't take it, or they just don't benefit from the extra attack for being an extra hand weapon? I tried it on Battlescribe. Battlescribe gave me a 0-point value on it when I was on a mount. I didn't really check to see if it did that same thing though to me if it was on foot, but whatever. Anyways, goblins only, additional hand weapon. Attacks made with this weapon have armor piercing +1 or 1. If the wielder is attacking the enemy from a flank or a rear, attacks made with this weapon gets +2 strength. That is insanely good if you're in the flank or the rear. It's actually not that bad for even like a hero, as long as just because the armor piercing 1 is basically giving you, quotation marks, a 5 strength more or less. Not on the roll of the dice, but at least on the armor aspect. And then you're getting 2 more if you're on the side or the rear. So it's really no downfall for this weapon except for the fact that it's magical and they might have like something that debuffs magic, but it's really good weapon for 15 points. Really good if you had a character who had poison with that as well. So it's all around a great weapon. I think 15 points is just perfect. It's cheap. Magic armor, the plates of Lork. Oh, the armor of Gork or Mork. Armor of Mork, I think it was. Type, heavy armor, wearer gets +1 toughness and impact hits D3. Now guess what? It's a big stab and it gives you +1 toughness. It's a lot cheaper now, so you could actually take a ward save with it. Before in 8th edition you weren't able to take any magical items because it was 100 points, so basically you took this and that was that. But in 8th edition it did do a lot more. It gave you D6 toughness or D3 toughness and D6 impact hits. But all around, I mean, if you're going to take an Orc Warlord anyways, I mean, it costs like, I think 10 or 15 points for heavy armor anyway, so for like 20 more points, you're getting toughness and impact hits. It's not that bad of a, I mean, I would take it more or less. Am I taking it? No. I'm taking other stuff, but whatever. Hat of 9 Caves, 55 points, Cave Goblin only. Magic armor type, 5+, or type none. 5+ armor save. If your wearer is your general, 1 Cave Goblin unit without any maggots get the ambush rule. Also, all units consisting only of Cave Goblins and wearers inspiring presence radius get the fast cavalry special rules without free reform and whatever. So they get fast cav special rule without the free reform and vanguard special rules. So what the hell do they get if they don't get the free reform and the Vanguard special rules? That's kind of dumb. Yeah. Alright. So, I mean, 55 points is kind of high up there. It gives you only a 5-up ward. Or 5-up armor, not even a ward. And it gives you ambush to 1 unit. It's basically giving you, what's his name? Garsnik and Gobla, whatever, Nabla. Spirit tattoos, or the Lucky Shrunken Head, if you would like to say. Gives all your savages in the unit a 5-up ward. Very self-explanatory. Still a good item. They raised the price. What assholes. Why would they do this? And the thing that bothers me the most about this is they raised the price to 75, not 65. So you can't take Fencer Blades and this. You have to take just this. And that sucks to me. Because I like my Shaymin having that hard as hell to hit weapon skill. Sork's Soul Totem or Mork's War Banner. Guess what? It got cheaper. Holy shit. You just gave me a really good item. I've been using it. I mean, like, you guys have been watching my videos. It's not the best banner out there, obviously. But it's pretty damn close because you're getting magic resistance D6. Okay, whoop-de-fucking-do. Not many people are gonna hit you with magic. Well, guess what? In this ninth age, the magic is less devastating. There's less spells that are like screw you, no saves allowed. So the magic resistance actually pays off better in this ninth age. Not only that is it 25 points cheaper, but it still turns off all items in close combat. Now I'm going to tell you right now, I actually play my first game of ninth right now. I literally, I mean, I probably said the opposite in the beginning of this video, but I actually just played it right now. And I just fought a demon prince, and he had freaking the sword of whatever, bashing or whatever, and the sword of striking, and turning it off just kind of screwed him up majorly, and that makes a big difference, I believe. So I think that this banner is still great. It, regardless, it's still, it still causes people to get messed up on what they're doing, more or less, and they have to focus their energy on killing your BSB. Banner of the Arachne, 25 points. This banner has so many uses. The only problem is forest goblins in the wearer units get poison attacks. So they just basically nerfed the spider banner, but they limited it to only forest goblins. So I was like, all right, great. Well, if you get the mark of the wog or mark of the boss in a forest goblin spider rider unit, you could get some sick poison attacks. Nope, wrong again. You can't take that. They don't get the Goblin Raiders don't get Mark of the Wog or Mark of the Boss. I'm sorry. So it really does limit you on. Yeah, they only get fast cav. So it really does limit you on where you could take it. You could take it in a unit of forest goblins that are just like freaking bows. Which, I mean, if you want to go ahead and frickin' convert all those, or like look on eBay for the extremely old, ugly ass models, go for it. Or you could take a BSB and have him with it, but it's a 25 fucking point banner. It's like, why would you do that? But whatever. In all fairness, I think the best use of it would be to take like a forest goblin boss on like an Arachne or some shit, and just throw him, or just throw a regular, sorry, not orc, a goblin boss, forest goblin boss in a unit of forest goblins, and just give them the fucking banner, mark of the wog on just the guys on foot, because you can't do it on the raiders. But whatever, play it how you want to play it. Ironhide Banner, 25 points, grants a ward save 5 up against shooting. It doesn't say war machines, it just says shooting. So that means, I would assume, war machines included. This is ridiculous. This is one of the best banners I've seen so far. Gives a fucking ward for shooting. Now guess what? I stopped taking Black Orcs back in 8th because I got shot the fuck up. And not only that, like, I was taking just the heavy armor. I wouldn't take shields because I'm trying to conserve points, get more bodies. And they get shot by one organ gun and it would wipe out majority of the unit. Guess what? This, first off, you're getting at least a +2 more armor save on the Black Orcs. So that really does help out. Not only that, you're mitigating the damage even more with a 25 point banner. You could take this in a unit of Iron Orcs, no problem. You could take this in a unit of regular Orc lads, no problem. You could take this in a unit if you want, in a unit of Savages if you're just being too cheap because you don't want to spend the frickin' Lucky Shrunken Head Spirit Tattoos. You could do it there too. But, period, the banner is a great banner. It should probably be in every frickin' army list. At least one unit, if not. The other thing too is what I have been playing around with is just taking a regular Orc War Boss, common Orc War Boss, and you could give the Iron Banner to whatever Orc unit you would like, more or less, with the mark of the boss. It's just a 25 point banner. It's not that bad. Anyways, Enchanted Items, Snarla's Hoof. Snarla's Hoof, Orc General mounted on a War Boar or Boar Chariot. Boar Riders, not Brutal Boar Riders, count as core choice, and wearer has +1 movement that cannot be combined with other magic items granting positive movement or swift stride. To movement or swift stride. Blah. It's a good item if you want to fill up your core with Boar Boys. I mean, Boar Boys, I mean, the one thing is they're only giving you 10 to 15 to choose from on the army size, but and if you're taking them back down to generic regular boar boys status, I don't know. I mean, it's nice you get the extra movement. You're basically turning them into a movement 8, which is almost as fast as it's actually better than taking a Wolf Riders. Because Wolf Riders are movement 9, but they die a lot faster. These are tough 4, heavy armored boar riders. But like what? There's honestly most of what is good in Orcs and Goblins is in core already, and it's hard to just justify it by filling up your core choice with this. You could do a themed army, I guess, like like you have a bunch of boar riders. But in all fairness, since there's no Gorbad, it's really like I think redundant to build up a character on a boar that has. I mean, you could. I mean, I guess there's plenty of options out there, and that's one of the coolest things about Orcs and Goblins. There's so many options out there, but you could honestly build up a pretty decent size. I was really playing with this, but you could build up a really decent sized infantry unit versus building up half the size of a boar unit. So, just saying. Talisman. We got the Trinket of Save Stealing. This, by far, right now, I'm going to say is one of the best items we have. Holy shit. I know I said that about the banners. The banners are pretty badass. I love all 3 banners. But this fucking talisman is just ridiculous. If the wearer suffers a wound, it could use armor, ward, regen, and magic resistance of the model that inflicted the wound. I got hit by 3 trolls on my Goblin Shaymin, and my Goblin Shaymin regened it. I'm going to put that video up next, because I just played this game and it was fun. But it is such a freaking cool talisman. Holy crap. I mean, there's so many times where my Goblin died by like some crazy lord, like, haha, attack. I mean, there was a time at the last game I played against Jake Murphy where he attacked my Goblins and I just like challenged with my Goblin Shaman and he's like, alright. And he had some crazy Dragon Lord attacking it. If I had this going backwards, he couldn't have killed me. Or it would have been a lot harder to kill me. That's just awesome. Alright guys, let's go over the army list and see what we have. We have, obviously, the Orc War Boss. There's an upgrade in the weapon skill for the Iron Orc. There is a... That's about it. That's the only difference between the Iron Orc versus the Savage Orc and the Common Orc. The Savage Orc obviously gets the ward save. Now, here's a question, and maybe one of you guys watching this could actually answer this to me. Because to my understanding in 8th edition, a Black Orc is always armed to the teeth. But here, I'm looking at the army list. It says Common, Iron, and Neander Orc. And the Iron Orc isn't automatically armed to the teeth. You would still have to buy the shield, the great weapon, the lance, the hand weapon. The only thing it shows is it just gets heavy armor. And I'm just curious on if that is fixed with... I mean, is that automatically assumed? Because the race is Iron Orc, and if you go back to the Army Special Rules Greenhide races, it says Iron Orcs are weapon masters. So that's a question. If it needs clarification, more or less. Anyways, the Common Orc could take light armor. That's its base armor. But if you want to pay for more, you get heavy armor, and you could get a War Boar, a Boar Chariot, or a Wyvern. The Wyvern is really cheap. 120. I think they were like almost 220 in the old edition. If not, I could be wrong, but that is cheap. That's 250 points for a freaking war boss on a Wyvern. Holy crap. Now, granted, you could always take more stuff on it and more magic items to raise the cost, but, I mean, it's kind of worth it. Iron Orc gets heavy armor automatically, a plate armor for 20 points. Now you get the same 3 choices for the same cost. And again, I mean, if you're at that point where you're getting a Wyvern boss, might as well take it on an Iron Orc versus a Common Orc so that he has the better weapon skill and has the mutant psychology. A Savage Orc, woo! This is a way to go, I think. I mean, it's a 20-point upgrade from the War Boss anyways, but you could get a Wyvern or a War Boar. You're also going to get that ward save automatically. I kind of like the Iron Orc better, actually, because you get the armor save, like, ridiculously high, and you can just buy a ward better than the Savage Orcs. But it's still an option out there. And unfortunately, they don't let Savages take a boar chariot for whatever reason. That's stupid. Orc High Shaymin. The Orc High Shaymin could be a regular Orc Shaymin or a Savage Orc Shaymin or Neander Orc. Obviously, upgrades you could take. Now, it's hard to justify taking a regular Orc Shaymin when you could always take the Lucky Shrunken Head. Lucky Shrunken Head giving a whole unit 5-up board, especially if it's a core unit. It's just ridiculous. But there's obviously reasons to take regular Orc Shaymins as well. You could take them on a boar, you could take them on a wyvern. One of the best things about this edition, I was just playing with the magic, is you could take those Fist of Gork and throw it on the wyvern. You could take Fist of Gork and throw it on basically anybody. So on a wyvern with a Shaymin, you could just fly around the table and just literally give Fist of Gork to whoever the hell you want to give Fist of Gork to. I think that's just awesome. I'm going to go ahead and try to pull up the page really quick of the magic spells. 9th Age. But, I mean, that's one of the best things you could do with the wyvern. Or even a warboard. I mean, just getting on a warboard and running around. I used to do that all the time on 8th, just run around with my warboard, because most people left it alone because, first off, Orc Shaymin is really tough. Tough 5 is pretty damn high up there. Besides that, you could give yourself a nice ward, and you could also, here's another thing I noticed, is you could take Path of Wilderness, and the Path of Wilderness, you could actually just buff up your own toughness, and then run around and be an asshole. You can also get Monstrous Transformation in Path of Wilderness, which will turn you into a Hydra, a Manticore, or a Dragon. That is crazy. Wow. Not only that, holy shit, I just noticed that on the Path of Wilderness, you don't have to do it only on yourself. You can do it to anybody in range of 12 inches. Oh, that's so cool. Anyways. There's so many options. I'm looking at the Path of Wilderness right now. Let's see if I can find the Path of the Wog, whatever, the big green gods. So, the Path of the big green gods. First thing that I noticed is the attribute. It may reroll ones on to wound in combat. Only units entirely consisting of Orcs and Goblins or Goblins can be affected by the spell. Last one turn. That's insane. So basically, if you get one spell off, you automatically turn your guys into Dark Elves, re-rolling the failed wounds on ones. Signature spell. Here we go. Now, I think it's interesting that they made this signature spell, but it basically allows you to re-roll fail hits in close combat, which is exactly the same as Here We Go used to be. Edbutt. Now, Edbutt, it got a kind of a boost. It's a 24-inch range now instead of a 12-inch range, which is great. Okay, it's only rolled on a 7+, which is great. I never took Edbutt because the range was shit, and you never had to get your Shaymin that close to the other wizard. It only affects wizards. It's going to suffer a Strength 5 hit with Armor Piercing 6. Now, the cool thing is, you could turn it into an aura for a 14+, and it'll hit every wizard in that 18-inch bubble. That's awesome. With a Strength 5 hit, woo! That's pretty cool. That's a good upgrade. That's just pretty badass. Bashing Fist, or Fist of Gork if you wanna. Basically, Bashing Fist, 7+, you're gonna give yourself +3 strength, +3 attacks, and their magical attacks, which is alright as is. I mean, it's always been good on 8th edition, but what they did is they boosted it with a higher version that you could throw it out to another person in 12-inch range. You're basically picking one model and you're giving it to that person, +3 strength, +3 attacks. Holy shit, the options on that is crazy. You could throw it on your boss, you could throw it on your BSB, you could throw it on a champion, you could throw it on a monster, you could throw it on a lot of goddamn things, unless they're going to correct me right now. That's insane. Oi, no dying. Apparently, the gods are Jewish now because they're doing ois. But, basically, you on the smaller version, you're getting a range 12, you're getting a 5-up ward. On the boosted version, you're getting a 24-inch range, you're giving the target a 5-up ward. That's cool. I like it. I try to throw it onto my, not my savages, my black orcs, got dispelled earlier. Try to throw it onto my Arachne, got dispelled. Nobody wants to see them get ward saves. The Great Green Hand. It's basically the hand of Gork. Target may pivot, ignore, blah, blah, blah. You're basically going to pick up the unit and move it wherever you want, either 3d6 or 5d6. And it doesn't count as them actually moving. So that's pretty much the same. Zap! This is a new spell for the Orcs and Goblins. It allows you to do 2d6 strength 5 hits, and basically the boosted version is just a different range. This is a very consistent spell. It's not like the Foot of Gork where it could just miss entirely. I mean, granted, you could just get 2 on the 2d6 and then miss both of those and whiff. But on average, you're getting about 7 strength 5 hits, which is pretty good for just like a random spell. And then we still got the Foot of Gork, but the Foot of Gork got nerfed. It got nerfed hard. It basically lowered. They don't even get the foot template anymore. That sucks. But they're saying place a 3-inch template with the center over the target unit and scatter it d6. All models under the template get a sub for 1 strength 6 or strength 8 hit on multiple wounds d3, and it gets boosted to the strength 8 versus the strength 6. Okay, moving on. We're going to go on to the Goblin War Boss. Now, the Goblin War Boss is something near and dear to my heart because Chickenhead is a Goblin War Boss. The only difference is you got your 3 choices. You got your Common Goblin, your Cave Goblin, your Forest Goblin. Your Common Goblin, you can take Wolves, you can take a Wolf Chariot. There's options for that, you know what I mean? I think all of them have the same stat line except for the Night Goblin. The Night Goblin has a faster initiative but is lower in leadership. But you could take heavy armor on goblins now, which is pretty nice. You could take... Oh, they do get the green tide special rule. That's interesting. You could take, obviously, a good chunk of magic items. The Night Goblins could take squig riders or big squigs or big cave gnashers. The Forest Goblins could take poison attacks. Now, this is, to me, honestly, poison attack speaks like volume to me. So I'm honestly contemplating just switching Chickenhead over into a spider model and putting them on either a big spider. You can take any spider, that's crazy, and give in Chickenhead poison attacks. Because why not? 10 points, totally worth it. Goblin War Boss, we're already getting 4 attacks, and half of them probably get poisoned off or whatever. That's insane. That's pretty cool. Let's move on. Oh my god, and I almost forgot. Goblin War Bosses now can take an Arachne spider or Arachnegadon spider for 210 points. That is huge. You could take a Lord on an Arachne that is not a Shaymin. That is insane. You could have a fighty character on top of a fighty freaking monster. That's cool. I think that, to be honest, I think that's better than taking a Orc boss on a Wyvern. Is taking a Goblin boss on an Arachne. Granted, the Wyvern's a lot cheaper. Alright, moving on. Goblin High Shaymin. Now, the Goblin High Shaymin could take the path of the Little Green Gods or the Path of Shadow. Why didn't they give us Path of Undeath? I don't know. I mean, there's a whole freaking model line of Orcs and Goblins undead, but whatever. Same options. Common Goblins get Wolves, or Wolf Chariot. Cave Goblins could get the Power Mushroom, so only the mushrooms could go to the Night Goblins. That sucks. And then Forest Goblins could go on the Ragnarok or a Spider. Now, the Path of the Little Green Gods, we're going to go over those spells really quick. The Tribute Dirty Thieving. Basically, it's a 36-inch range. You could try to target a wizard and make them have a -1 to cast in this spell, which is pretty cool. That's just a nice little perk. I believe all the spells are pretty much the same as they were in 8th, but they did change a little bit. First thing I noticed is the signature spell is no longer Sneaky Stabbing or Sneaky Slicing, quote unquote. It is now Vindictive Glare / Evil Eye. So Evil Eye suffers 2d6 or 3d6 strength 3 hits. That's it. And that's your signature. That sucks. There's been times where I want to get that spell, but I like having Sneaky Stabbing as the default versus having to roll for a 1. Sneaky Stabbing or Sneaky Slicing, the range changes with the spell, but it gives a target armor piercing 1 special roll. If the target attacks the unit's flank or rear, it may reroll hits and wounds. Where I find this really interesting in is the fact that you can take a goblin, a forest goblin on a scuttler spider, have them pop out the side or the rear on scouting, and then have a Shaymin with this unit as well, giving this unit the extra sneaky stabbing. That's pretty good. You could also take characters in this as well. You know, like I was thinking, Chicken Head. Put Chicken Head in a unit of Goblin Spider Riders, have them pop out the back, throw up sneaky stabbing. You all of a sudden have a very deadly unit in the rear. Not deadly, but pretty deadly. Blessing of the Mother Spider, which is Gift of the Spider Gods. They get poison attacks, and if you didn't already have poison attack, or if you didn't have poison attacks, you get a 6 poison. If you do have poison attacks, it gives you a 5 poison, which is pretty cool. Pretty self-explanatory. Range goes up. Itching and scratching. Basically, this is what is that called? Itchy nuisance. You're gonna basically lower the movement D3 movement and initiative to a minimum of 1. They actually nerfed this one because it used to be D6, but whatever. Gork will fix it. On a 10 plus, you basically anybody who's attacking you will have to reroll any 6s they roll on hits, wounds, or armor saves. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's a great spell still. Let's move on. Shh, stay quiet. Now this spell is pretty cool because it gives the unit distracting and blurry special effects, which is basically -1 to hit on close combat and range combat, and then all models in the unit successfully charged take dangerous terrain. So it's pretty cool. Not only that, it actually has an aura which does it to a whole group of people in 6-inch range, which is pretty cool. Curse of the Green Moon. This one they actually changed pretty good. It's a vortex, goes off immediately, 5-inch template, which is huge. That's the big template. Each model touched by the template suffers a strength 3 hit, goes through all armor. Any units touched by the template have -1 weapon skill. That's cool. So yeah, that's all about the goblins. One of the things I liked was the fact that you could do that that one trinket with them. Anyways, moving on. Heroes. Heroes, you got your Orc boss, and then again, same thing. The Iron Orcs get +1 weapon skill. Besides that, not much else has changed. You could take a Wyvern on a hero. That is crazy. It's hard to justify the points, but God, I want to do it one day. I'm gonna do it one day. I gotta build up my Azhag model and just pull him out as like a black orc on a Wyvern hero. That's just nuts. Anyways, Orc Shaymin's level 2 and 1. Not much changed. They obviously lose more power in the spell, so we're just gonna keep on going. Goblin bosses, same thing. Goblin Shaymin, same thing. Core, we got your Orc lads, which are your Orc boys. They can take Mark of the Boss. They can take bow shields, additional hand weapons, spear shields, and all the additional upgrades. Champ, musician, stand-up bearer. You can upgrade them to savages. You could keep them as just common orcs. Now, one thing I noticed here is you can take them with a common orc with heavy armor and crossbows, which is basically Ruglad's armored orcs. One thing I found cool here, and I this is something I played with in the first game I played with, is yeah, granted the heavy armor and crossbows is kind of pricey actually, but you get that 30-inch range with crossbows, and you get you can take the unit with the Mark of the Boss as long as your boss is a Orc War Boss, common Orc War Boss. And you could give them a flaming banner. So all of a sudden now we have easy access to flaming shots. You can take that on the bows too. I mean, the bows are only 1 point. That's not that bad either. That's actually probably better. Because you can take more bows than your crossbows. You do lose the heavy armor though. But still, regardless, you're getting plenty of bow shots for flaming bow shots for a relative cheap cost. Orc Brutes. Now this is your big-in upgrade. Your big-in upgrade, you basically could take a magic banner anyways, 25 points, but you could also take the Mark of the Boss to boost it to 50 points. So that gives you a little bit of options and leeway if you want to take something specific. You do get boosted on the Brutes versus the Lads, the 1 strength and the 1 weapon skill. Besides that, not much else has changed. Now the Neander Orcs can take, that's interesting because they don't give you these options on the boys, you can only take them on the brutes, but the Neander Orcs could take hand weapons for 1 point, spears and shield for 1 point, or shields for 3 points. And if you're confused on why shields cost so much by themselves, shields with hand weapons gives you parry. If you have a parry, it's -1 to hit, so that's fucking huge. Weapon skill 4, if something's coming at you with a 4, it's all of a sudden going to need to hit you on 5s, and that just really ups your survivability. That's why shields are 3 points of shield. As for the common orcs, they're only 2 points of shield. Spears are also pretty badass because they give you killing blow in the front if you're attacking a cavalry unit. So any cavalry too, monsters cavalry counts too. Goblin runts. Goblin runts are just basically regular common goblins, I guess. They're going to go ahead. Yeah, they are. You can take them with spear shields, short bow, or just hand weapon shields. The common goblins can take up to 3 stabbers, which is basically like their little assassin buddies. And they could exchange all equipment for shields and short bows, 2 points a model. You could also take a night goblin who carry nets, and as well as 3 goblin fanatics or madgets, and then madgets. And then the forest goblins, you could take throwing weapon, or they get throwing weapons automatically and upgrade the unit to skirmishers 1 point a model. The forest goblin option is really insane to me because, like I said, if you could take a forest goblin hero, give him Mark of the Boss, give him the Arachne banner, and give a huge unit of forest goblin skirmishers, throw them in a forest somewhere and just have them fucking throwing axes at everybody, or just give them short bows so they get a little bit of range. And you could just shoot people with poison shots. If they start coming in to charge your ass, you could just go ahead and throw up double taps with the throwing weapons, and it just literally could just kill a good chunk of people with that. It's pretty insane. Once you get like a huge horde of them shooting in there. The Stabber. The Stabber is basically, like I said, the assassin in that unit. It gets supernatural reflexes in this unit's first round of combat. It gets killing blow and multiple wounds D3 on infantry and cavalry. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, they're kind of outshined by the Fanatics, and as well as those skirmishers are pretty badass too. So, Madgets, which are the Fanatics, they basically do the same thing that Fanatics did in 8th edition. They're going to go ahead and hide in the unit. Once the unit comes in 8 inches, they pop out and they start running and doing their rampage. Goblin Raiders are basically separated from Goblin Wolf Riders and Goblin Spider Riders. They're both fast cavalry, so they'll get the vanguards, they get the free reforms. They can both take shields, lances, light lances, which is just a spear, short bows, and then obviously regular upgrades. So the interesting thing here is common goblin is wolf, high speed, light armor. The forest goblin doesn't give you the light armor, but it gives you scouts, which is pretty badass. Gives poison attack to the spiders, which was always there, and also gives you strider through the forests. So that's really interesting. The scouting ability is just really has a huge potential, especially since goblins don't really get much firepower. Getting a flank is just pretty nice. So Specials, you got the greenlings, which are the snotlings, and again, they get scouts. They're also insignificant. They also get throwing weapons. I wouldn't expect them to do much. I mean, granted, they're 10 points a model, I believe. It says 10 points a model, but it's charging you 40 points for 2 models. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, they're not there to do much, but basically just kind of chaff up people. The Iron Orcs. The Iron Orcs are the one of discussion. Everybody's been talking about the damn Iron Orcs. The Iron Orcs, first off, they can use additional hand weapons, great weapons, or hand weapon shield on the fly. Okay? Now, they automatically have heavy armor and shields. Now, what shields weren't ever included before, but that's pretty badass. Shields are automatically included. But you can upgrade them with plate armor, which for additional 2 points a model, which would get them a 3-up armor naturally. Okay? Now, they get Champion Muso, Standard Bearer. Standard Bearer can take a big banner of 50 points. The interesting part here is the Iron Orcs are now a weapon skill 5. I think they were always a weapon skill 5, but just people made a big deal about saying that they're weapon skill 5, so I figured I would too. They're immune to psychology, which is great. Most big, strong units in the game are weapon skill 5 or under. Okay? If they are under, or if they are weapon skill 3, 4, or 5, they're hitting you on 5s. Take a moment to sink that in your head. If as long as you're taking shields with your guys, on a 3, 4, or 5, they're hitting you on 5s. Okay? On a 1 and 2, they're hitting you on 6s. And then if they're faster, or if they have a higher weapon skill than you, they're still hitting you on 4s. I just fought somebody with the Sword of Striking and a weapon skill 9. He was supposed to hit me on 2s. He was hitting me on 3s. Okay? I'm sorry. He was hitting me on 4s because I turned off his sword and the shields knock him down. That makes Black Orcs / Iron Orcs so much harder to kill. And then additionally, if you take the additional hand weapon, you actually could boost your initiative. So fighting somebody with trolls, now they're initiative 2, you could just switch to hand weapons and just go straight for them and try to kill off a good chunk of them because they're going to puke on you anyway, so they don't have to worry about hitting you. But you could try to kill off more as long as you know. And it gives you the option to really think about what's the better use of your weapons on the fly, on the spot. And you, as I understand, you could change your weapons at any phase. So it's not like, oh shit, I'm stuck with great weapons and that's all I got. No, you could switch back to hand weapon shield if a new unit's flanking you or something like that. So Iron Orcs have huge potential. The way I played it today is I took it was actually like a unit of I think 18 of them. It wasn't that many. I wanted to put more, but I just didn't have the points. But I gave them a Orcs War Banner and the Ironhide Banner. So I gave them magic resistance as well as protection from shooting. Plus they have a high-ass armor. So they got into combat without getting shot at much. The Boar Riders and the Brutal Boar Riders. Now, the Brutal Boar Rider is basically the big upgrade. Again, you get the +1 strength, the +1 weapon skill. But you could also take a common orc, and now you could give them heavy armor on the Brutal Boar Boys. So now that armor that was always a 3-up is now a 2-up armor, which is badass. Savage Orcs could take a Boar Rider as well, and they could upgrade to the Biggin upgrade as well. The only difference is you could take an additional hand weapon, and you suffer, I think, dangerous terrain easier. But I haven't really checked it out. You can take lances now, which is just a +2 strength on it. And to top it off, you take a Boar Rider, a Brutal Boar Rider, which is strength 4, strength 5 with choppas, and then strength 7 with the lance. That's a pretty hard hit. The only thing is you really got to set yourself up for those charges. So moving on to the Orc Chariot. The Orc Board Chariot, it looks like exactly the same thing it's always been. The only thing is that I know the Chariot's rules have changed a bit with a character on the Chariot, so that's pretty badass. Wolf Chariot's got 5 points more expensive. Oh well, it happens. Spear Chucker's got 10 points more expensive. They're called the Git Skewer. And 10 points more expensive, but guess what? I don't see any rules saying they blow up on 1s anymore. So that just makes the Spear Chucker a lot more survivable and actually a lot more usable. It gets 1 shot, strength 6, range 48 inches, and it goes through armor and multiplies D3 wounds. That's pretty cool. That means goblin accuracy. I don't know how cool that could be. The Gnasher Dasher, which is basically a Squig Hopper. The Squig Hopper, 3d6, weapon skill 4, strength 5, tough 3. Basically, it just follows the rules of just being a random movement mount, more or less. But yeah. Eager mounts. Nashers make supporting attacks instead of their cave goblin riders. That's awesome. So the mounts get to do the supporting attack. The goblins just kind of like are the mounts. That's actually a pretty good rule right there. That's pretty awesome. 10 points a model. Eh, I mean, the 5 models for 55 points really isn't that bad. Um, the one problem I have with it, though, the one problem I have with this is even though it's 5 models, strength 5, doing 2 attacks apiece, so it's 10 strength 5 attacks, the toughness is only 3. The initiative is 4, which is okay, decent. You have to take a good chunk of them before they get killed in combat, because they get killed pretty fast, unfortunately. Same thing with the Nasher Herd. Um, I mean, they're getting the same exact stat line, weapon skill 4, strength 5, 2 attacks apiece. They're a lot cheaper, and you don't have to take goblins with them. So at that point, it's like, I mean, the only difference is you could take the Nasher Dashers as they can't charge react to a random movement. But as for the Nasher Herd gets the same exact stat line for a lot cheaper. 7 points a model. You're cutting out the goblin basically. um, they're considered war beasts now too. Interesting. Um, Trolls got kind of nerfed, but at the same time, not really. They got a better initiative now. They got the same shitty leadership. They got the same stat line basically. The regen is awesome now in this edition because only the regen doesn't get turned off like it did in previous turns, where like in 8th edition where you get shot with one flaming arrow, all of a sudden all these bolt throwers and everything else is shooting at you, and they all just go through because you got that one flaming hit that did something. In this edition, the regen, as I understand, only works when there is only one. Like if somebody has a flaming lance, that's the only person causing a flaming wound. Everybody else who hits it, the regen goes back up. So that's pretty interesting. Same thing. Common trolls get regen, stupidity, troll belch, which is the vomit. Stone trolls get innate defense 4, regen, stupidity, troll belch, and magic resistance 3. And then the river trolls get -1 to hit with the distracting roll. The troll belch, the vomit, is awesome. It just goes through all armor. It auto hits. You just have to wound, and it just basically goes to the straight wounds. Scrap wagon, the snotling pump wagon. Same thing. They get impact hits 2d6. That's pretty cool. 2d6, insignificant, unstable, shambolic. They will blow up the more that they lose combat res. But really, they're only there for that impact hits 2d6. They also have some extra stuff they could do, like add strength for 20 points, add armor piercing for 2 points. It could add you could change the shambolic to a steady shambolic for 15 points, and you could also get distracting and blurry for 5 points. That's actually not a bad upgrade. 5 points and you get harder to hit. Giants. Oh my god, Giants are actually useful now. Giants are 140 points. That is nothing. 150 points if you want a 6-up ward. 140 points. That is pretty good in price for a Giant. Giants and their leadership 10. Holy shit, they're not running. They're stubborn on their own leadership 10. That's insane. Immune psychology. This thing is just getting better as I read it. They have a bunch of moves. I'm not going to go through the whole list of moves because I know this video is going on just a little bit long. So we're going to go into the Squig Wrecking Team, which is basically the Manglish Squig. Manglish Squigs are always worth it. They got 5 points cheaper, I believe. No, actually, I think they got 20 points more expensive. But they're definitely worth it. 80 points, causes a threat on the board. People got to run into it and die, or take 2d6 normally to the face. That's insane. The Rock Lava. The Rock Lava is 90 points, same exact cost. It does exactly the same thing as the Rock Lava has always done. You can take an Orc as a crew member. It increases the wounds of the War Machine 4 and gains and removes the insignificant rule. The only reason you would ever take an Orc before was to not fear elves. But guess what? You can take an Orc now, 15 points, and get 1 more wound. I think that's a waste of whatever. A waste of points there. Oh, Doom Diver. Doom Diver Goblaba. It is 110 points. Holy shit, that went up in price. That went up a lot in price. Holy crap. Everybody knows what it does, though. Once you see it on the table, it literally wipes out freaking heavy armored stuff. No problem. Basically, yeah, that's it. The Arachne Spider. It got cheaper. 210 points, that's nothing. It used to be 290 points. Basically has all the same stats. Nothing's changed. But it got cheaper. Avatar the Green Gods. This is a new one, guys. This is actually the Forge World model. The giant freaking stone idol of Gork or whatever. But for 240 points, it gets an innate defense of 2 up. It gets crushing attack, impact hits, immune psychology. It gives all the orcs around it 8 inches away from it hatred. Holy crap. And then it also gives all friendly units 8 inches around ability to reroll their charge distance. That's pretty cool. It could also become the BSB and gain a ward save 5 up for 50 points. I don't know if you would want to go that far, but it's pretty cool. And guys, that's about it. That is all it goes. It goes on to mounts, and it goes on to a little bit more on a quick reference sheet and all that. But that's it for what is on there. I am tired as hell. I don't know why I'm continuing to talk. Guys, if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe. If you guys have some cool combos you think you could pull up about Orcs and Goblins in 9th Age, put them down below. I would gladly hear it and want to see what you guys come up with. If you guys haven't, hit the like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Peace.